What is up, boyos, and welcome back to Last Week in Games. We are talking about the week of November 6th, and welcome. Thanks for joining me. There's a few pieces of news here that I want to talk about real quickly, and then you could get on your day, okay? So if you want more weekly news, hit that subscribe button. We're also streaming over here all the time, so you can check out some of the live streams. And check us out on Twitch, twitch.tv/lonercast. Anyway, let's just jump into the news. Last week, Nintendo announced that they are officially working on a live-action Zelda movie. I don't think there's any timeline set on when this is going to come out, what the movie is going to be, other than it is a live-action movie being produced by Sony and directed by Wes Ball, who did the Maze Runner movies, I believe, and being produced by Avi Arad. If you don't know, he did all the Spider-Man movies. He's done Venom, Carnage. So not the greatest track record, but it should be pretty interesting. I think Nintendo saw the success of Mario and said, well, let's make a Zelda movie. And it's pretty interesting that they decided to go live action with it. I've seen a lot of people kind of upset about it. I think my dream scenario would be an animated Zelda movie made by Studio Ghibli. Oh man, that would be amazing. But any Western animation studio making a Zelda movie, it's gonna be bad. So I think the live action route is probably a good idea. I mean, it's probably gonna be bad, but it could be cool. Who knows? Maybe it is gonna be good, as long as it's not fucking Tom Holland as Link. I think if they were to use a lot of influence from Ocarina of Time and sort of start there, and then if they wanted to make sequels, they could do Majora's Mask. Maybe they could do whatever. I don't think they're gonna do the retelling of Ocarina of Time, but it would be the best story, I think, to choose out of all of them. Ultimately, if the movie is bad, though, it doesn't matter. The Mario movie was anyway, and the Mario games still exist in their own world and are still awesome. And I feel like that's going to be the case for Zelda. If this movie comes out and is bad, we're still going to have the Zelda games. It doesn't really affect that. So I'm not worried about it. I'll be curious to see it. I'll definitely watch it. But yeah, it's not the end of the world like a lot of people are making it out to be. Another big piece of news that we got last week was that GTA 6 is getting a trailer coming out in early December, according to Rockstar. This is huge. This is huge news. I'm so excited to see what this trailer is. It's been 10 years since GTA 5 came out. I think it's been 5 or 6 years since Red Dead Redemption 2. So it's been a long time since Rockstar has done something, and specifically GTA. The real question is, when is GTA 6 going to come out? And I'm suspecting if they're dropping a trailer in December, I think the game's going to come out next year. I really have this suspicion that we're going to see GTA next summer, or maybe next holiday season, which would be awesome. I'm so curious also to see how they're able to actually deliver on this game. I mean, the hype is so real. It's been 10 years, probably the longest there's been between two Grand Theft Auto games. So trying to meet those expectations, I feel, is going to be impossible. But as long as it's as pretty as Red Dead Redemption and you can drive cars and steal people's cars, that's really all I care about. People are worried about the edginess of the games. Who cares? You're still going to be able to kill people. You're still going to be able to shoot people. I'm sure you're still going to be able to go to strip clubs. None of that's going to change, I don't think. The one thing I would be worried about is if they skimp on the story and go more hardcore into making an online game, which would be depressing for me, because I just want that really, really good GTA story. I don't really care about the online. I'll dabble around in the online, but I would rather just have a really good story in the GTA game, just like we did in GTA 5. So that's all I really want from a new GTA, and I can't wait to see what we're going to get. People are also asking, are we going to see this at the Game Awards? Because that's also early December. And I don't think so. I don't think we're going to see it at the Game Awards unless they do a big reveal before the Game Awards and then like another trailer at the Game Awards, mainly because GTA doesn't need the Game Awards to hype up their game. They're just going to drop it on their own. They don't need someone else to publish the trailer. So they could drop their own thing and then we'll see another GTA thing at the Game Awards, but I wouldn't expect that to be where we see the premiere of GTA 6. But we'll speculate more about it as we get closer, and we'll definitely talk about that trailer when it comes. All right, so let's get into the big piece of news that happened last week, and that is Sony confirming that it has delayed half of its 12 planned live service games. This comes from Andy Robinson over at Video Games Chronicle. Sony Interactive Entertainment has halved the number of live service games it plans to release over the next few years, it's confirmed. SIE had previously said it planned to have 12 live service titles in the market by its fiscal year ending in March 2026, up from 3 during its last business year ended this March. However, earlier this year, PlayStation's management team confirmed that it had partnered with Destiny studio Bungie for a rigorous portfolio review process. According to press reports, this has led to some projects being scaled back. During an earnings call on Thursday, Sony president, COO, and CFO Hiroki Totoki seemingly confirmed that this review had resulted in some games being pushed back due to quality concerns. Quote, "We are reviewing this. We are trying as much as possible to ensure these games are enjoyed and liked by gamers for a long time. Of the 12 titles, 6 titles will be released fiscal year 2025. That's our current plan. As for the remaining 6 titles, we are still working on that. That's the total number of live service and multiplayer titles, and mid to long term, we want to push this kind of service, and that's the unchanged policy of the company. It's not like we stick to certain titles, but game quality should be the most important thing." End quote. Among the 12 titles in development are The Last of Us Online game, a Horizon Online game, and an original IP from PlayStation's London studios. Speaking earlier this year, PlayStation Studios boss Herman Holst described how Bungie had become involved in all its in-development live service games. Quote, "The learnings from Bungie have been very substantial in many areas. Of course, when you're developing live service titles, you require capabilities that you don't have when you're working on a single player narrative-driven game. And these capabilities that we've set up inside PlayStation Studios have been helped and guided by Bungie. We also more deeply understand what success means in live services. Historically, our games always worked towards an end, and this is a large cultural shift. The launch of a game is just the beginning, and it comes with a whole set of different key performance indicators. We also work with Bungie on a pretty rigorous portfolio review process that we apply to all 12 live service titles that we have in production. And these are just brief examples of some of the learnings that we have gained from working with Bungie." End quote. So what it sounds like to me is Sony had decided that they wanted to make a bunch of live service games because they looked at games like Destiny, which on the surface looks like it's made billions of dollars, or they've looked at something like Grand Theft Auto, which has made billions of dollars, or something like Fortnite, which has made billions of dollars in the live service space. And I think Sony looked at that and said, we want some of that money too. And we have all of these IPs that could be live service games where we could be making billions of dollars as well. So I think they put that plan into motion, and then they started seeing all the development troubles that come along with making a live service game and how it's so difficult to make a live service game actually enjoyable and not just money hungry. And then they brought in Bungie. And I think Bungie came in and looked at some of the games that they were making and said, this is never going to work. We kind of heard that with The Last of Us multiplayer that was in development. As soon as Bungie came in, they basically said, this will never work. This will never be profitable. What are you guys doing? So all that happened. And then on top of that, we look at what just happened with Bungie. a couple weeks ago where Bungie just had to let go of a ton of employees because Lightfall wasn't as big of a success when it comes to releases for Bungie. And if Bungie is one of the top dogs and they have one release that does sort of poorly and it puts them into financial troubles, are these live service games really as profitable as we were thinking? And I think Sony is thinking about that. Like, we have a good model right now. What sets us apart from everyone else is that we release these beautiful story, narrative driven games that all have endings, and when they end, our teams move on to the next project. And now all of a sudden they decided, well, we're going to turn our backs on that, and all of their studios are going to be held up in making these live service games, so then there is nothing else to push out in the future. I think this is a big reason why Jim Ryan left the company, because I think Jim Ryan was a big reason this push into live service was happening. I think Jim Ryan was the guy who said, wow, we can make $1 gajillion by going live service. And they started making that push. And now every developer that was working for Sony is in trouble, because I think all of these games are having significant development issues. First of all, these teams are not designed to make live service games. Most of these teams have only made single player games. Just because you have a team like Guerrilla who made Horizon, which is a phenomenal game, a beautiful game with a great story narrative and amazing gameplay, doesn't mean that that will translate well into live service. So I think Sony is looking at all of this and they're restructuring everything on the inside. I think they're too far in on some of these games, and we will see the release of some of them. But I don't think we're going to see all 12 of these titles. I think we're only going to see maybe 6 of them. And that's another issue. You can't have 12 live service games out at the same time under one company. You're cannibalizing your own demographic. That's why there can't be too many live service games, because live service games take up all of your time. So only a few of them can be successful at one time. And we can look at next year's release calendar, which for Sony is nothing. We have nothing on the release calendar for next year, as far as we know. Nothing. There's Helldivers. That's kind of the only thing we know about for next year. And I think we would have had more games out next year if it weren't for all of the studios being preoccupied trying to make these goddamn live service games. I think there's a lot more to this story that we don't know yet. I hope we get a big tell-all from someone on the inside, you know, like some sort. Maybe they can reach out to Jason Schreier, and Jason Schreier can like release some beefy article about what's going on with all these live services at Sony. But also, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they just haven't announced these games yet for next year, and Sony will have some big state of play in December or early January or something. But that doesn't really seem feasible. I mean, you could just look at what happened with the Last of Us factions. It's pretty clear Sony is in trouble right now, and they're trying to course correct. Well, anyway, before we wrap up the show, I have been playing a few games that I want to talk about. So let's get into our section of the show here, which I lovingly call What You've Been Playing. I did beat Spider-Man 2, and it was a phenomenal game. I platinumed it, and me and my friend Nick did a hour-long spoiler review of that. So if you want to go check that out, you could definitely go check it out over here on the Lonercast channel. I'll leave a link down below in the description. It was a great conversation that me and Nick had about the game. We kind of disagreed on some stuff, but I loved the game. He also loved the game, but it was a great conversation. So if you want some spoilers, go ahead and check that out. I'm also about halfway through Alan Wake right now, and let me just say right now, this is the sleeper hit of the year. It's been such an incredible year for gaming. I mean, Zelda came out, and when Zelda came out, everyone was like, this is a lock for Game of the Year. And then Baldur's Gate came out, and everyone's like, well, this is a lock for Game of the Year. And then Spider-Man came out, and everyone's like, well, maybe this has a shot for Game of the Year. Well, now Alan Wake 2 came out, and let me tell you, this has a shot for Game of the Year, because this game is doing something so original and so unique within video games. It's something we have kind of seen Remedy, dabble in before with Quantum Break, which had this sort of gameplay fused in with the live action cutscene stuff. But Alan Wake does it so perfectly and so beautifully, and it's telling such an interesting narrative that I think can only be told through video games, which is such a testament to this type of storytelling through video games. I don't want to spoil anything, but there is one section in the game about halfway through that is so bananas, so bonkers. I did not expect it to happen in the game, but it is a phenomenal moment in the game. So definitely check that game out if you haven't already. I've also been continuing my time with City Skylines 2. There have been a lot of updates since I last reported on my time with City Skylines 2. I mentioned that the game was super laggy, and that's insane because I have a 3080 in my computer and there's no reason it should be hiccuping at all on my computer. There's definitely still some of that, but it does seem to have been smoothed out a bit. Some of the glitches that I was experiencing early on are much better, but I gotta say, I'm fully addicted to City Skylines 2. Like, I can't wait to wrap up this podcast so I can get back to working on my city, which I'm absolutely loving City Skylines 2. Is it better than the first one? Probably not yet, but I think as time goes on and they release more updates and then more expansions, this is going to be a great simulator. So just give it time. I really think City Skylines 2 is something special. It just has quite a few rough edges. Now, I'd like to open up OpenCritic over here. If you don't know what OpenCritic is a review website that sort of is a conglomerate of all the big news, all the big video game news outlets, where it takes like the score of IGN, the score of Kotaku, the score of whatever video game company, and sort of combines it all into one. So I'd like to look at some of the reviews over here. The big one last week was Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, which is currently sitting at a 56 out of 100 on OpenCritic. People are absolutely hating this game. I refuse to buy it. I will not purchase this game. So unless Activision sends me a code or something, I will not play this game just because of all the negative press I've heard. I heard that out of all of the Call of Duty games, this had the shortest development window. Apparently they only had 16 months to develop the game. Normally they have 2 to 4 years to develop these games. I hear the launcher is absolutely insane. Like, you have to open the Modern Warfare 2 launcher to open Modern Warfare 3, and you have to download Modern Warfare 2 in its entirety to download Modern Warfare 3, even if you don't own Modern Warfare 2. And it also affected Modern Warfare 2 because my friend who plays a lot of Modern Warfare 2 ended up deleting Modern Warfare 2 because he had to download all of Modern Warfare 3 so he could download the patch for Modern Warfare 2 to continue playing that game. I don't know what they are thinking releasing a game like this, especially right after the purchase by Xbox. You could totally delay this game, and it does not matter. You could delay this game. It does not matter if you miss a yearly release for Call of Duty this year. I also heard the campaign is one of the worst campaigns ever done for Call of Duty. I heard that you can beat the campaign in 3 hours. I heard that it's just sort of tutorial missions. I can't believe they would release a game in this state. I heard that they had to remove maps after launch because the spawn points were so glitchy that people would die on spawn. What an absolute disaster. What an absolute mess. So yeah, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, I can't believe that. I cannot believe that. Also, looking at some of the OpenCritic scores, we've got Like a Dragon, The Man Who Erased His Name, is sitting at a 79 on OpenCritic. So people are definitely liking it. We also have this Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2, which I hear people are kind of enjoying. It's sitting at a 70, which is not great, but I hear it's just a fun kind of Smash Bros. Clone. The Invincible, which I know nothing about really, it's sitting at a 71. Definitely people will have to go check that out, I suppose, but Football Manager 2024, which always does great in the reviews, is sitting at an 84. I hear people love this game. Does great every year. MarioWare Move It is sitting at a 73. EA Sports WRC is sitting at an 80. And let me say, I forgot to mention it just a second ago, I've been playing a ton of this game as well. EA Sports WRC is a rally car racing game, and it's a ton of fun if you like rally games. I was a huge Dirt Rally 2 fan, played a ton of that with my friends, and my friends and I saw that this was coming out, and we all picked it up, and we've been having a great time. It does have a lot of like technical issues. Doesn't seem very well optimized for PC. The career mode is kind of whack, to be honest with you, but the overall, it's still just a really well done racing game. They nailed the simulation of the different road types and tire types and the combos between the different tire types and road types, as well as the performance of each car and how each car controls, how a front wheel drive car performs compared to a all-wheel drive car or a back wheel drive car. Super awesome game. So definitely, if you're into that kind of game, definitely check it out. I don't think it's a game for everyone, but you don't know if it's a game for you until you try it. So moving on to next week in games, I want to say next week we are getting the announcement of the Game of the Year nominees for the Game Awards. So as soon as that drops, I will be going through them over here on the channel. I will probably do a whole separate video. So keep an eye out for that. We'll do what we did the past couple years and kind of go through and vote for each one of them. Here are the video game releases of next week. We've got Hogwarts Legacy, which is finally coming to the Switch on November 14th. Invincible Presents Adam Eve comes to PC November 14th. I don't know what that game is, but I absolutely love the Invincible TV series. So maybe one to look out for. I don't know. Turok 3 Shadow of Oblivion Remastered is coming to PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC on November 14th. Teardown is coming to PS5 and Xbox Series on November 15th. The Last Faith is coming to everything on November 15th. Assassin's Creed Nexus VR is coming to Quest on November 16th. Flashback 2 is coming to PS5. It's coming to everything on November 16th. Naruto X Boruto Ultimate Ninja Storm Connections is coming to everything on November 17th. Persona 5 Tactica, which is definitely one to check out, is coming to everything on November 17th. And Super Mario RPG is finally coming to the Switch on November 17th, which is one I've been very excited for. I might wait a little bit on it just because I'm poor after buying all of these games. It's definitely one I've been super interested in. So Super Mario RPG, keep your eyes out for that one. Once again, thanks so much for checking out the show. We will be back next week for Last Week in Games to talk about everything in gaming news. And like I said, check out our Twitch, twitch.tv/lonercast. I'm always streaming. I've been streaming a ton lately. And leave some comments down below, and I will definitely respond. And I'd love to start a dialogue with you guys. So we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.